Good morning, Anthony Wayne generals, American literature scholars, cool cats and kittens. That's a little Tiger King comment if that works for you. So today is Friday, April 17th, 2020. We've got a quote there from chapter 18 from the end of that chapter, which I'll come back to in a minute. Today's job is really simple. Watch this video, which recaps chapter 18. I'm going to both summarize it and point out a couple of the key points, I think, in terms of symbols and themes. And then read chapter 19. That is it. There is no quick write today, no other assignments, no hangouts. Chapter 19 is only about 18 minutes long if you use loud lit time. So not too bad. This weekend, no assignments in terms of written stuff or anything like that, but read chapter 20, again, about 18 minutes long. That is it. The other part of the weekend, though, is if you have any quick writes that are marked missing in Power School, or the reaction memo is marked missing from late March, early April, whenever that was, get that stuff in. I'm real flexible on deadlines, generally, especially in this pandemic, but eventually those will turn to zero. So just go ahead and get that stuff in so we don't have that headache. You don't have that headache. I don't have that headache. Your parents don't have that headache. Again, this is where we are. Should have read chapter 18 yesterday, read chapter 19 today, 20 over the weekend, and then we'll get rolling again on Monday. So chapter 18, remember the boys, Huck and Jim, are right around here. This is the the Tennessee and Arkansas borders. Tennessee to the east, Arkansas to the west, Kentucky right about there where the little hand is on the screen. When the steamboat hits them and they get separated, Huck ends up at the Grangerford house in chapter 17. Chapter 18 begins with a description of the Grangerford family. I'm going to go hat mode. Props. Here we go. And I've got my Cavs hat on, my old school Cleveland Cavalier hat, because a Cavalier is supposed to be a gentleman. The noun, anyway, not the verb. A gentleman, sort of a knight, but someone who's trained in horse riding and arms, but sort of a sophisticated gentleman sort of thing. And that is how Mr. Grangerford is described. Colonel Grangerford is described, this family that Huck is living with, as this old Southern gentleman, aristocratic sort of guy. His wife is very much a lady, and they have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids living. They've had 2 sons die. They've had a daughter die, but they have 2 older sons who are still alive who are in their 30s, and they have 2 daughters who are alive who are in their 20s. One who is 25, and then Sophia, who is 20, and then Buck, their youngest boy, who is 13 or 14, which Huck describes as about his age. In the beginning of this chapter has this description of this elaborate procedure they go through in the morning. Colonel Grangerford comes down every day looking like he's in his Sunday best. He's got this white suit on, very proper. All the family stands up for him in the dining room to greet him, very formal. The older boys who are in their 30s go to the sideboard to fix him like this morning liqueur, basically. And they all toast to each other in the morning. It's very elaborate. And Twain's really making fun of this idea of sophisticated Southern aristocracy and Southern gentlemen. Twain likes characters like Huck, who show character by what they do, versus people who think they have character because of how they were born or who they were born to or their station in life because of luck as opposed to what they've earned. So Twain's kind of making fun of that in a subtle way. After describing that, we move on. Uh-oh, another hat change. Twain is describing, or Huck is describing the fact that the Grangerfords are in a feud with this other family, the Shepherdsons. Remember, when he shows up at the Grangerfords' house in chapter 17, they're very nervous at first. Who are you? Are you a Shepherdson? And Huck doesn't know what they're talking about, and he's not a Shepherdson. So eventually they realize that too and take him in and take care of him, which is great. But he's out walking. Huck is out walking with Buck one day, the youngest Grangerford. And they see this guy on horseback, and it's Harney Shepherdson, who's around 20-ish himself. And Buck kind of hides behind a bush and takes a shot at him. And Huck is like, what are you doing? And Buck says, well, we're in a feud. Huck says, what's that? And there's this sort of comic situation where Buck is trying to describe what a feud is. Huck says, what is it? And he goes, well, A man has a quarrel with another man and kills him. Then that other man's brother kills him. Then the other brothers on both sides goes for one another. Then the cousins chip in, and by everybody's killed off, and there ain't no more feud. And Huck says, "Well, how long has this been going on?" He goes, "About 30 years ago." He goes, "What was the trouble about back then?" Buck says, "I don't know. I just know we hate each other now, and we try to kill each other." And he describes that there have been people killed that year, cousins on both sides of the family. So it's kind of a crazy feud. It reminds, or should remind you of the Hatfield and McCoys from a historical perspective. And then there's another angle that comes in as well. So then they go to church, and Huck describes how they go to church. They take their guns with them. Some of them lean them against the wall, but some of them actually keep their guns with them in their pew at church. And on the way home, the Grangerford family is discussing what a lovely sermon it was about brotherly love. And I think it's sort of obvious, but Twain here is making fun of religious hypocrisy. Those people who want the sort of social credit of being religious. Look at me, I go to church, I believe, but are really not behaving in a way that is consistent with their religion, or any of the world's major religions, I guess. So after lunch that day, where they had gone to church, Sophia, this beautiful 20-year-old daughter of the Grangerfords, pulls Huck aside and says, "Can you go back? I left my hymnal at church. Go back and get it." And so he does and brings it back. And there's a note in there from our guy, Harney Shepherdson. Sophia Grangerford and Harney Shepherdson are from two families who are fighting, but they are in love and plan to run off and get married together. Does this remind you of something that you've read in school? Boy, I hope so. So there should be a literary parallel there. You've got the historical parallel with Hatfield and McCoys, and there's a literary, I think an obvious one, parallel here. Two feuding families, two young people from those different families who have fallen in love and plan to marry. I'm not even going to say the words because I know you know what I'm talking about. And so from that moment, Huck has been assigned a slave at the Grangerford house, and that slave keeps telling him, "Oh, you got to come with me. You got to come with me. I want to show you some moccasins." And Huck's like, "I don't want to see a bunch of snakes that can bite me. This doesn't sound like a good deal," but he follows along, and the guy leads him into a swamp, and sure enough, there's Jim. And Jim explains that when they got thrown off the raft, he could see Huck. And while Huck might have been yelling out to him, it doesn't do Jim any good, as a runaway slave who's now down near Arkansas, to yell out back to Huck. So he was trying to follow along to catch up to him. And he thought once we got to, he said, "I'm not as fast of a swimmer. I thought once we got to shore, I could maybe catch up to you or get your attention. But by the time I got to shore and was trying to get up with you, you had come across that house and they had all these guns, and I couldn't just show up as a runaway slave at this house of a slave-owning family in the South." But Jim says, "These slaves have been great to me. They've been taking care of me. They've been feeding me. And oh, by the way, I found the raft, and it was a little bit banged up, and I've been able to fix it up some. And it's in decent shape." And so Huck is thrilled that this has happened. He goes to bed, and he wakes up. Buck is not around. Nobody's around. And he says, as a narrator, there are a couple moments at the end of chapter 18 where Huck, I think, gets more credibility as a neighborhood, or as a narrator, not a neighborhood. Huck says, "I don't want to talk much about the next day. I reckon I'll cut it pretty short." And what he describes is he wakes up, no one in the family's around. He goes to this slave named Jack and says, "Where is everybody?" He goes, "Oh man, Sophia ran off with Harney Shepherdson, so the rest of the Grangerfords went off to catch her, and they're basically in a war right now." Huck goes to check this out. When he hears gunfire. He gets to a scene where there's people shooting back and forth. He goes up a tree, and he looks down, and one of the guys shooting towards the Shepherdsons is Buck. And Huck is watching this whole scene play out. Buck thinks he's safe, kind of hiding behind a stack of firewood, but the Shepherdsons have looped around and come in from the back and chase Buck and one of his cousins down along the river and shoot and kill them. And Huck says, the boys jump for the river, both of them hurt, and as they swim down the current, the men run along the bank shooting at them and singing out, "Kill them, kill them." It made me so sick I almost fell out of the tree. I ain't going to tell all that happened. It would make me sick again if I was to do that. I wish I had never come ashore that night to see such things. I ain't ever going to get shut of them. Lots of times I dream about them. I think that adds credibility to Huck, because he's saying, look, you know that he's a real live first person narrator. He says, I don't even want to tell you about everything I saw that day. So I'll just tell you this much. But he hides in this tree until it gets quiet, comes down, pulls two bodies out of the river. One of them is Buck's. And he said, I cried a little when I was covering up Buck's face. Then he runs back down to the swamp where he thinks Jim is hiding. He doesn't see Jim at first, but then Jim calls out and says, boy, I was getting ready to take off because I thought maybe you had been killed because the slaves back at the house had been hearing that people had been killed. But I'm so glad to see you again. And they take off down the river. And after a couple miles, Huck says or thinks, we said there weren't no home like a raft after all. Other places do seem so cramped up and smothery, but a raft don't. You feel mighty free and easy and comfortable on a raft. So that's where chapter 18 ends. In chapter 19, you are going to start meeting some new characters. Again, these are a series of episodes stitched together to make the adventures of Huck Finn. But a couple things. As we go into the weekend and into next week, I want you to start thinking about themes. There have been different topics discussed in this book: slavery, race, growing up, lying. What is Twain saying about those things? Religion is another. And then start thinking about some of the symbolism. The river itself, the raft, maybe some of the characters, Huck or Jim. How is Twain using those as symbols? What do they represent? What are they symbols of? So think about that stuff. Have a great day. Again, you're just knocking out a couple of chapters today and over the weekend. Chapter 19 today, chapter 20 over the weekend. And we'll be back at it on Monday, April 20th. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Monday. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.